say this. So, you did a documentary, fantastic piece of work. I really heavily advise everyone watching this to go watch this documentary. The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, covering the George Floyd incident, Black Lives Matter, etc. Can you tell us a little bit about that documentary? I know that documentary, you probably got a bunch of hate for doing it, but I think it was powerful and needed to be done because it's a topic that people are scared to talk about. Some people are scared to discuss, but people know privately this is what really went down. Can you tell us about that documentary a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, you could say this, it goes back to what we were talking about with people using smears to prevent you from talking about anything, any subject that they don't want you to touch, any powerful institution they don't want you to get close to. And, you know, Black Lives Matter as an organization, it was just so obviously fraudulent. It was so obviously racist. It was so obviously going to lead to Black Americans setting themselves back, looting and rioting their own communities. And I kept saying it, and I was just being called a coon, and like, this is the thing we're doing. We're finally getting power. Okay, you're finally getting power by taking a flat screen TV because they're going to allow you to do this for a couple of months, and then what? The businesses are all they're playing chess, right? The businesses are all going to leave the Black neighborhoods because why would they stay, right? They're making no money. You're allowing people to steal. We've already done this in the '60s, by the way. They called it the white flight. Everyone's leaving because you keep rioting and looting, and so I just saw it happening in slow motion and knew that a lot of times what happens with emotion is you're all in and then you're finally ready after some time to look back on things with clarity. And it was something that I received a lot of heat from, not obviously bowing down to the George Floyd narrative and also knowing how much they lied about it. I mean, they didn't even show the full arrest tape. It was crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. This is a great example of how biased the media is. Who was the guy? Brad Parscale worked for Trump. And he got arrested. When I tell you they had his arrest tape, full arrest tape on the internet within like hours, it was amazing. Yeah. With George Floyd, it was just that one angle of the girl's phone, and that was all you were allowed to see. You couldn't see that. They tried to get him in that car peacefully. I mean, from the jump, he acting weird, not answering. They're asking him questions. Are you okay? Like, why are you acting weird? They put him in the car. It could have been a totally peaceful arrest. He asks to get out. Says, I want to get out, blah, blah, blah. He asks to be put on the ground. It's just wild. It is wild. They put him on the ground. They wouldn't let him breathe. He had enough fentanyl in him to kill a horse. Yeah. Okay? That is a fact. There's just no way to look at that. You can be upset about that fact all you want, but at the end of the day, this is a man, and his story should have been a conversation about what led to his addictions, right? Maybe we would have looked back on Big Pharma. Who knows? Maybe it started with him taking pills for pain, and it ended up the story of a man who then became heavily addicted to fentanyl, whatever it is, right? And talking about addiction is always going to be a compassionate story, I think. And that's why I had to actually check myself after doing the documentary. I actually am glad I sat down with his roommates because I felt bad for him in that way because he didn't ask to be turned into a martyr. Yeah. He never said, I'm a good man living my life well and let my death mean something. 100%. Right? The media did that. So he was a man who suffered from addiction. He died in his addiction. His whole life is a story of addiction. He was not a good person. He committed crimes probably just to get money. Career criminal.
All over Texas, Minnesota.
You know, traumatizing Black and Hispanic people that you claim to care about. These were his victims.
Put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach.
He literally put a gun.
Passed a counterfeit bill before he was apprehended by the police in the first place. Like, no one ever talked about all the things that led up to what happened. Right. They're
just pretending like, and then not showing the other angle, which you can see Derek Chauvin actually from the front. It looks like he's on his neck, but actually, and police are taught that to put their knee there once he was on the ground. And so, yeah, you could say that, oh, well, once he said I can't breathe, why didn't you move your knee? He was saying I can't breathe from the second they pulled him over, when you see the full thing. And they were just like, dude, what? I can't, I'm claustrophobic. I can't be in the car. I can't breathe, you know? And so it wasn't like, they just thought he was BSing, likely is what happened, that he was just BSing.
Not only that, but if you're able to scream, that means you're able to breathe.
Right. And so here's the thing. Yeah, quite literally, when you take fentanyl, do you know what it does? Yeah. It stops you from breathing.
Yeah. The media saw...
The drugs he took worked, you know, and it's a tough conversation to have. I get it, but I will not accept turning somebody into a martyr who led a life of criminality, and then also at the same, I mean, you had little Black girls, little Black boys wearing his face, a criminal. They were baptizing people in the square.
What?
Yes, they were. You don't remember how crazy it was. They literally tried to make his name synonymous with Jesus Christ. When you go to that square when that went down, there's like a billboard, and they've basically put angel wings on him. I mean, it's nuts what they did to a career criminal, but that's what they want. They want Black Americans to believe and to defend the people in our community that are doing the worst. That's why it's a racist system in that regard, right? When you are saying to Black Americans, aspire to be filth, right? Aspire to be the next sexy red, the next this person, and simultaneously saying, these are your new idols. These are your new Jesus Christ. This is the new Jesus Christ. It sickened me, and it still makes me so angry to look back on it and the people that fed Black Americans that garbage.
I've always said, people, they give me the same term, oh, you're a coon, blah, blah, they say the same thing to me, because I've always said, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization.
It is.
I used to work in law enforcement. One of the things we investigated was terrorism. And by definition, using violence or, trying to coerce people from a violent perspective for a political ideology is terrorism. And BLM is a domestic terrorist organization every way you slice it. If you want to go in and call the KKK and these white supremacy groups, domestic terrorist groups, then you got to call BLM too. But they're so scared. The FBI is so scared to label them as a domestic terrorist organization. It's crazy because they don't want to deal with the backlash.
No, I don't believe that. I think actually the FBI uses it as an operation. Like they support it because it's their op. You know what I mean? Like, you think it's just like overnight every single news channel was suddenly interested in this arrest? Like come on, it was a total op. It was so obviously an op. They were suppressing, trying to find out any real information on the case, not releasing the body cam footage. I mean, everything that happened shows you that the government was
different
complicit.
Corners doing the autopsy. That was weird.
The government was complicit in the narrative, and they wanted that disruption because it helped to foster an environment in which they thought, well, now no Black person is going to support Trump. I mean, there was so much going on. We were in an election season, and so
lockdowns. Lockdowns were right. It was funny because they're like, all right, guys, sit in your house, masks on, 6 feet apart, etc. George Floyd dies. This is in May. Everyone's riding in the streets.
Yeah, they literally were creating laws that were like,
it's allowed.
They were carving out exceptions. If you're Black and you want to riot and loot your own community down and burn it down, it's allowed. We must have this exception. And so, it was an insane time. And where did all that money go? Which I kept asking, where do you guys think this money's going? You think it's going to go into Black communities? Don't be so stupid.
BLM.
They went to trans organizations.
So in the documentary, and I don't want to give it away, you guys need to really go watch it, but you go over where that money was spent.
Wild.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Guys, LGBTQ trans neighborhood, first ever trans neighborhood that we're building in San Francisco. These trans center for arts. Poll Black Americans. You want to talk about like the community that would not be supporting all of this, the number one community that would be against all of this LGBTQIA plus nonsense, it's going to be Black Americans. We're very conservative on this issue, right? Yeah. And yet that's where, for the cost of you rioting and looting your own communities, not only do you now have to live in these criminally rotten communities, but also we funneled your money to LGBTQ IA plus organizations that all spawned overnight. So it's just a money laundering operation.
Of course. Obviously. Not only that, they bought themselves. I always make the joke, buy lavish mansions. Property. They bought like mansions, because the heads of the BLM are, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 lesbian women.
One, I think one turned to a man. I don't know.
Okay. But they bought some mansions. Yeah, buy lavish mansions.
One in Canada. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And if you want a reason that Black people should be rioting, it's because of that. But
and it's crazy because I actually knew someone that lived in Minnesota at that time, and I think they ate something and they were like allergic, and they called 911. Yeah. The police couldn't even come. They almost died because they're like, sorry, can't come out there, because they said defund the police, so they have to cut 911 staff, they had to cut police officers, and they almost died.
I'll tell you what, definition of. They should never give niggas money. Literally. Just saying.
No, but it wasn't even, they never got the money. It was like, never give Patrisse Cullors money. That's the crazy thing. And it's unbelievable. And yes, it was 100% the Democrats that were supporting that. And I think there is a deep-seated hatred that they have for Black Americans. That's the one I can't figure out. It's always Black Americans. Like they're always experimenting on Black Americans, you know, whether it's our bodies, Tuskegee experiment that happened, or whether it's our minds, it's Black Americans that suffer first, that they're trying to encourage to be illiterate by putting up these people as idols who definitely should not be idols in the Black community, like Sexy Red. It's always Black Americans.
Yeah.
So whatever.
The worst role models.
Meg Thee Stallion.
Yep.
It's there's a hatred for Black America. The people that are running, you know, running America, the criminal organization, they hate Black people first, and there's no doubt about that.
With the documentary, how long did it take you to film it, and what was some of the backlash that you dealt with that? Because I could only imagine.
We filmed it. It took about, you know, I moved quick, so we were like just maybe like 4 to 5 months to film it.
You guys did it in the winter too.
Yeah, and I was freaking pregnant, which is why that Patrice thing was so funny when she pretended like I was attacking her outside. I was 8 months pregnant. It's like, you're not getting attacked by anyone. And the reception was great. You know, I do think, like I said, with time, the scale kind of falls from people's eyes. BLM, the organization, blocked me, of course, because once you start looking into where the money is. But Black people were receptive to it once they saw it, and it was being shared on a lot of the like highly traversed Black blogs that are on Instagram, and they were pretty outraged. And now you can see people are saying, yeah, Candace was right. She told us about this. She told us about this. You can see that the Black community has moved a lot from when I first appeared on the scene to now, and I'm really grateful for that, you know?
Well, slowly people are waking up, and I think that's America as a whole. They're starting to see, like, you know, fake news, mainstream media lies about a bunch of stuff. A bunch of things that we were told are not true, as they try to say they are. History has been rewritten by the winners a bunch of times. Like, people are kind of like getting an alternative look, and thanks to, you know, platforms like Rumble, etc. Like, people are able to do that. So, and X, right, being with Elon, you know, kind of getting rid of all the censorship. You were gonna say something?
How do you handle hate? I think a lot of people, like for example, we had some girls coming on the show like later on today, and I asked them, Candace is coming. What are your thoughts? Have said, she's talking the truth. I like her a lot. I said, we hate Candace. How do you deal with hate?
I just don't deal with it. I think people have me mixed up. I just told you, I listened to Power on repeat for like way too long, right? So if you want to get into my head, you should listen to Power, right? If you think I'm spending time reading comments about how much you hate me, my life is great.
Thank you.
Amazing. I am saying what I actually believe to be true. People are responding to that. I have a husband who loves me, children who love me. They're really cute. Like, you know, not that it'd be different if they weren't cute, but my kids are really, really cute. And that's it. That's when your family life is intact. Do you think I go to the internet for my sense of security? Like, oh my God, let me see what Rabbi Shmuley thinks of me. You know, said nobody ever. Right? Said nobody literally ever. So I just do not care what the haters think. I wish them well, and I think a lot of times, gratefully, the haters do eventually become lovers, because when you're on the side of truth, eventually people get there, right? And so it feels good to be like, yeah, I was right about that. I was right about that. I was right about that. But I'm happy because I want people's lives to change, and for them not to accept this cancerous victim narrative that's being fed to my people who hate them.
Again. Guys.
Speaking about the whole George Floyd situation, if I'm not mistaken, there was a civil lawsuit that was kind of independent of the case, but something else was going on, and one of the prosecutors, I think, was had to testify, and she said something on the stand about that George Floyd died from fentanyl overdose. Even she said it.
Yeah. No,
Like,
that was the people
did
didn't
you
even
hear
get to
about
see the court case. That was it. The media was quite literally just showing you him one angle, dying over and over again, because they wanted to propagandize that. And you actually got no facts about that case. And like the doctors that testified of what would happen, how much fentanyl it takes to kill a human, and how much he had. It was just insane.
That wasn't covered. Like, they didn't cover that angle. And then the fact that, like, this was literally a couple months ago. I think it was when we were in Vegas. Well, like, literally the prosecutor testified in this civil case, and it came out that, like, no, he died of fentanyl overdose. Or even one of the prosecutors admitted this. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, I don't know. Chauvin has a pretty good shot at you know, trying to maybe get this thing thrown out. But
yeah, people should be rioting outside for what happened. It's a very scary thing.
Yeah. When
the Justice Department can do something like that, you know, and it could be any of us. This is why I fight this sort of stuff, because it can happen to you. It can happen to me.
You got
right?
stabbed in prison
you just
too.
decide a narrative and get everyone against you, and it's not based on fact at all. That is why, like, I was the loudest voice consistently against the Me Too movement, before it was popular, I got hit by conservatives and liberals when it first started trending because they were like, oh, it's rape, so we can't possibly. I was like, these bitches are lying.
Thank you.
I know what you did. You slept with him because you wanted a job, right? You slept with him. This is like the oldest. This is prostitution. The prostitutes get a refund now. They get. That's what Me Too was. It was prostitution refund.
I don't like this anymore.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, you know what? Yeah. I'm like, what? No. And I'm telling you, you go back and read the articles. I showed it on my show. I'm like, because I got hit by the left and the right. Even the right gets in line and then waits a little bit until it's comfortable to start saying something's wrong. It's like, no, it's always wrong to say that I'm going to believe your allegations because I'm with her, hashtag, or like believe women was trending. What a nut. It's insane. Like, just believe women. Women have never lied
believe
ever.
All women, yeah,
just believe women. Blanket. No woman has ever lied in the history of the world. I'm like, what? Are you guys crazy? Like,
what you said is so true. Nobody's safe. All it takes is one allegation to say, oh, he did this to me. From a woman, your career, your brand image is screwed.
You're done.
Because you know what happens? Even if you're vindicated, they won't say, oh, we were wrong. Too bad, buddy. It's already out there.
And they called me, what did they call me? Self, what's there's like a word they use? There's like you're self-hating women, but it's like internalized misogynist is what they called me.
Wow.
Like I hate women.
That's
and I'm like, no, they're always accusing you. It's because I refuse to hate men. You want to know why? Because I'm married to one. I have 2 sons. And so whatever world I fight for is going to be the world that they have to grow up in. And if you think that my son is going to live in a world where a woman can ruin his whole life by just saying like this happened and you're not, that's it. It's just one allegation and your life is over. Absolutely not. So that is why it's like they somehow make women think you're different from men. No, these are our brothers. These are our husbands. These are our friends. These are our eventual sons. And so I was not with Me Too from day one.
Preach.
Which case